Hi there, welcome to today's video where I'm going to be making some teeny tiny headstones, gravestones, tombstones, whatever you want to call them, but I'm loosely calling it a tutorial because I've no idea at the moment how they're going to turn out. So yeah, well basically I was very much inspired to make some because I was walking along a cemetery in one of the villages nearby to us quite recently, and I was just really taken aback with how sort of atmospheric the whole churchyard was and how the headstones themselves are really quite beautiful objects. So yeah, I felt quite inspired to make some, and I believe it was a suggestion by one of you guys too, so I think it was Anita, so thank you for that. And yeah, let's go and see how I get on. So to start, I've mixed a clay here that's kind of like a dark neutral colour, which will work well, I think, for some gravestones. And with my blade cutting tool, I'm creating just two very faint lines down the piece of clay and also across. And it's almost like acting as a trace really for where I want to cut out my cross. So I'll go much deeper this time and cut out the shape that I want. And it might take a few attempts just to get a cross shape that you're happy with. So now that's cut out, I'm going to neaten it off at the sides and the top. Trying to make it as symmetrical as I can. And I'll wipe off the faint marks that I created earlier. And with my needle tool, I'll just go into the corners here so that they're nice and curved in. And obviously gravestones have a lot of texture, so I'm using my old toothbrush here, which will create some pretty convincing texture. And to distress the cross even further, I'm using my needle tool and I'll create some nicks along the sides and at the back. And I'll just keep adding some texture really. So I'm going to create a circle around my cross. So I'm using some circular cookie cutter tools here just to create a circle. And because the camera's in the way, this isn't the neatest circle, but it's, yeah, not too bad really. It looks like a weird game of noughts and crosses at the moment. So I'm just going to pop my cross over my circle, like so. And if you wanted to, you could perhaps leave it like this. But I'm going to cut into mine, I think. So I need to try and get the cross in the middle in as much as I can. And I'll cut down into the clay like so. And carefully remove that. So now I need to just remove the clay pieces where the cross was. And just try and mould them further into the clay so that they're nice and secure. It's kind of tricky to use an armature for this one. So I'm going to use some liquid Fimo here and try and get that sort of into the creases really, just to add a little more security really, because yeah, it's not really possible to put an armature in this one. So I'm just going to go around and distress that even further to give it a good old gothic look. I really want it to look as aged as possible, really. And with my ball tool, I'm just adding some further marks into the clay like so. So I'm going to write RIP on my tombstone, nice and original. So with my needle tool, I'm just going to map out where I want my letters to go before I delve any deeper into the clay. And with my teeny tiny ball tool here, I'll just start digging further into the clay to ensure that the letters are nice and bold. And this is fairly time consuming, so you might want to invest a little bit of time into this. And I'll just keep going with distressing the clay. And if you wanted to create like a weird brooch, you could always put an attachment on after it's baked. Or if you wanted to make a pendant, you could just pop in an attachment like so before it's baked. But I'm just going to keep mine as a prop, I think. So yeah, pretty happy with that. I'm going to make a second headstone now. And I'll go for more of a kind of traditional kind of look, very basic one. So with my cookie cutter tool here, I'll create a nice curve at the top. And back with the toothbrush to create some texture. And I'll add a few nicks in with my needle tool. And as before, I'll just map out some letters before I delve too deeply into the clay. And again, I'm just writing RIP, I think. And I think it needs a little something else really, so I'm going to make some black roses to pop onto the headstone. And because the clay is black, you're not going to be able to see this very well, unfortunately. Perhaps I'll make another tutorial at some point on how to make roses, but I'm sure there's various on YouTube. So I'll just pop that to the side. For roses, it's just a case of adding tiny circles of clay around one middle piece, so it eventually comes together to look like a rose. And I think it needs a third one here, just to kind of neaten it off a bit. And with my needle tool, I'm just going to add some pressure inside the rose so it sticks nice and well to the headstone. So there they are, all done, and they're now ready to be baked. And at this point you'll need to refer to your own brand of polymer clay's baking instructions. So now they're all baked and cooled, I'm going to add some ink, I think, to these ones. You could add some black acrylic paint if you wanted to, go for an effect like my previous video where I made some pumpkins. But I think black ink, well, it's dark grey ink actually, works pretty well just rubbed in. Makes it nice and easy really. And it just kind of ages the pieces because I want them to look kind of ancient really, so that works quite well. And it also brings out the distressed marks in the piece as well really. So yeah, liking how that's looking. So I've decided that I'm going to put some bases on my tombstones, really because I wasn't entirely sure what I was going to do with them. I didn't know whether to make a brooch of certainly one of them, but I think they'd work quite well with bases and obviously it would help them stand. So I'm just making a little square cube of clay here for the cross headstone, and I'll just go back with my toothbrush to create some texture, and my ball tool here as well. And I'll pop a little base on the other two. And they're now ready to be baked, so I'm going to bake them exactly as before for half an hour. And here they are out of the oven, all baked and cooled, and I've added some ink as before just so they match up really well. So yeah, pretty happy with those. I'm sure they'll make great props in the future. Thanks very much for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.